So here we are in Denver. This is Brett Septimus Warren of LJ fame.
Hello.
Our incredible host, the hunky and adorable Joe Bear San Diego.
Good afternoon.
And I'm Bob, and this is not my kitchen. But we got lots of stuff getting going, so let's get started. Our first recipe today is an appetizer. We're going to make salami crisps topped with a basil-infused sour cream. This recipe is literally 3 or 4 steps, and it is flavorgasm. So, we're going to take the salami and put it in the oven, space it out like cookies, and put it in the oven for 20 minutes at 3 1/4. Okay, here's our salami on the baking pan. I know it seems silly to show this to you, but these are the nice kind of big slices you want, because it's gonna cook down by probably 20%.
Well, the salami is drying in the oven. The next step is to prepare the basil to infuse with the sour cream. Now, if you watch Giada de Laurentiis or Ina Garten or Rachel Ray, they have some fancy Italian term for what it is that we're going to do. Actually, I think it's a French term. And basically, you take the leaves off of the stem, right? You've got the basil here. You take the leaves off of the stem. You roll the basil really tightly, and then you take a sharp knife and you just cut it. You get these nice strips that you can use to infuse the sour cream, and then afterwards you can just use as a garnish. So essentially you want them to be like this. Nice thin little ribbons of basil.
Okay, we have our basil julienne a la Brett, and what we're going to do is now infuse our sour cream with fresh basil, fresh ground salt, and pepper. Pretty easy. We'll take this and we'll put it in the fridge for the 15-20 minutes that we're baking our pepperoni. So you're going to just sprinkle that fresh basil in there, and I'm telling you, that's going to give it enough flavor for an army. And then we're going to use Joe's super cool mid-century grinders and salt that up and pepper it up. And then we're just going to whisk all this together. And as Brett said in the last section, you know, cutting that up and julienning it up like that really releases the flavors. So all the oils are going to come out of the basil into the sour cream as it refrigerates. And that is going to be the best topping for the pepperoni ever created. So 20 minutes from now, we'll finish off this dish. That's dish number 1. 3 more to go. This is Bob's Kitchen. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, our salamis are done, and see how they crisped up. And now we're going to put them on a plate of paper towel to get rid of some of that extra greasiness. We're not trying to make pizza here. This is going to take on the consistency of a cracker as it dries. Okay, we're back with the salami. We've taken the salami, we baked it for 20 minutes, left it out on a baking tray to get all the extra grease out of it. Some guys like it greasy, I like it dry and crispy. So what we're going to do is we're going to give a dollop of this lovely basil-infused sour cream on each of these crisps. And I'll just make... And here we are. This is the first recipe done. Salami crisps with basil-infused sour cream, fresh basil over the top, a little white wine to go along with it, and we have achieved flavorgasm. So you have a lot of this leftover sour cream. Mix a can of crab meat in here, and I'm telling you, crab or tuna into this, it makes outstanding sandwiches or a good dip. So don't ever get rid of this extra sour cream you got going on.
Here at Joe's Mid-Century House, we're going to make a mid-century chicken salad with spinach. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some breasts, we're going to wrap them in cellophane, and we're going to pound them out. When you pound them out and they're wrapped in saran wrap, it stops juices from flying all over the kitchen, contaminating everything. We're going to chop up some parsley. We're going to quarter some cremini mushrooms. We're going to throw into the bowl some oregano and some basil. We're going to throw in some garlic, some breadcrumbs, and some Parmesan cheese, some pepper, and some salt. And once we're done with that, once we're done with the mix and the chicken breasts are pounded out, we're going to bread the chicken in an egg and a milk mixture first, so it's nice and wet. And then we're going to bread it in the mixture of cheese and spices and breadcrumbs. We're going to bake that at 425 for 25 minutes. And then we're going to let that cool a little bit, and then we're going to serve it over a bed of spinach. What works particularly well is arugula, but I couldn't find any in the store. And then we're going to dress it up with some balsamic vinaigrette that I made this this morning. It's a basic balsamic vinaigrette with olive oil and balsamic vinegar, of course, and then I've added some pepper, some salt, some garlic, and some Dijon mustard. So we'll see when we're at our next step. I just need a dish. A dish, it's kind of like a bowl, but it could be a plate, but it's got to have some depth so that we can put the chicken with the breadcrumbs and the Parmesan cheese and the mushrooms, because we have to toss it all together. And so this will be good. This will be good because I'll do the egg and the milk and the chicken washed in a dish, but we need something like a dish. So in this bowl, I've mixed the breadcrumbs, the Parmesan cheese, the oregano, the parsley, the salt, pepper, and the parsley. This is Italian. So now I'm cutting out the chicken breasts. You want them to be, thin-ish. This is nicer because it's a little more thick. The first and most important stuff that we forgot to talk about in the past is wine. You always have to have a good bottle of wine. And remember to never cook with anything that you wouldn't drink. So that whole idea that your mom had of taking old rancid wine and sticking it in the refrigerator and waiting until you cook because the alcohol burns off, that's what mine always said. It's something that you're not necessarily interested in doing.
Excuse me, Brett. This is only a 5 or 10 minute show.
We've mixed in a bowl. Breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese, parsley, oregano, basil, and salt and pepper. We have the egg and the milk wash here. We've pounded out the breasts. You want to get them decently thin. You can use a pounder or grinder. If you don't always have something like that, you can use the edge of a heavy plate and you can pound out a chicken breast. I'm going to cut some garlic up. I'm going to throw that in as the last step in the mix. And then the really greasy, dirty, fun part is to do the egg and the milk wash and then the breadcrumbs, and then it's going to go into a baking pan which has some butter melted on the bottom. You can use some ham if you want, and then we're going to bake that at 425 for 25 minutes. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to take the breast, you want to put it into the milk and the egg bath, and then you throw it into the breading mix. The important part is just to pick the mix up and rub it into the chicken itself. Don't be afraid to coat. Don't be afraid to get it all over the place. The larger the bowl, the better because you have more room, but the coating is going to want to come off the chicken because of the egg. And then you shake it off just a tiny bit and into the pan it goes. This is the last step. You take the creminis, which have been quartered or halved, depending on the size. You throw them in the last of the egg wash, and then you just bread them and you throw them in with the chicken. After a relatively short amount of work, we have mid-century chicken and an excellent bottle of wine.
And when we finish a recipe, what do we have, Brett?
We're having chocolate mousse with raspberries and shaved chocolate on top. Oh, I can't read your lips. Every recipe ends with a flavorgasm.
Wow, that was convincing. I like that.
Let's try it again.
You're so hot.